Welcome to another episode of the Palace Huddle Podcast. Here are your hosts, Rob Schwartz and Justin Onayemi, two Bears fans who decided talking into a microphone was better than shouting at their television.
What's up, Palace Huddlers? We will not be huddling up for this episode because it's no huddle. It's a Hard Knocks quick one. Last episode of the season. To me, it seemed like they saved the best for last. The only problem I had was I had a fantasy football draft that I completely forgot about, and I had to do it during the time that I was watching. So therefore, I have no notes. But plenty up here.
All right, hopefully. I got some notes, so maybe I can guide us. But I think right off the bat, I called this the cut day and uncut day for some.
Okay.
We knew, as very in-tune Bears fans, you already know who was cut and you know who was brought back as practice squad players.
Yep.
But during those conversations, they obviously don't know. So I think, I wasn't on the last show's thing that I heard you and Bob discuss, but I think this one had a little bit more of the behind the scenes, how the sausage is made kind of thing. And I know that gets you a little bit of a Woody. So do you want to speak to that?
Well, all I know is that Bernstein cannot complain about this, right? Like 670 the score. They were calling this like the worst Hard Knocks ever throughout the history of the show. Demanded all this stuff, and then we got a tease of it in episode 4, and we got it exactly in episode 5. I interestingly called this, and I'm the one that named this, the episode 5 recap / Velus Jones special. We'll get into that. I think that was like what kind of made this whole episode, which is kind of weird to me. But as far as the behind the scenes stuff, I can't even imagine being on either side of that table, right? Like, it's kind of cool doing what we do, seeing them do the exact same thing. Like, you talk yourself into a player, you got to make those hard decisions. Who's going to go here? Who do you think you can keep if they get, if we do cut them, that we can bring them back at the on the practice squad? Those are the hard conversations that were going on. But then to see the after effect, right? Like, them in the room and telling them that they're cut, and I guess I'm jumping ahead here, but the Adrian Colbert one, right? Like, Ryan Poles had to leave the room.
See, so I very much respect Ryan Poles and what he's done as a GM. I also respect the tone and atmosphere that both him and Coach Eberflus have established, and many players, including the ones being cut, spoke to that. But as someone who did have a job that forced me to have many, many, many very challenging conversations, I was a little thrown off by like how he was sitting and stuff. Like, sometimes he wasn't facing the person and like had his arm up like this. And I think it speaks to what you were saying, which is it was a super uncomfortable situation for him to be in. These are people you invested time in scouting, signing, nurturing, and trying to bring along with the intention that they would be a valuable part of your organization. And you could tell that they still feel these people were that, even the ones they were cutting, even the ones they weren't able to bring back on the practice squad. I know Colbert's like a bit of a veteran, but the way they talked about him, didn't you think they would bring him back on the practice squad?
I wanted to bring this up. I was very shocked. Like, I went and double checked. I was like, I don't think he got put anywhere, and he's not. He's definitely a free agent still. So
was that his choice though? Because he kind of seemed at peace with like, if this is it for me. He's been on like 10 teams in 8 years.
He's 30, so it is definitely possible that he decided to just call it a day.
It's true. I hope it was his decision, because I was shocked the way they talked about him. Like, you would just want his presence in the building.
And what would be cool though is if he did go out, like, riding. Like, if this was the last we saw of him, like, riding his bike, giving us the peace sign, like, that's the way to go out. It's not quite as good as, that stupid white defensive lineman, number 69, who was only here for like a year, was with the Vikings. and then rode off into the sunset on the white horse.
Offensive line or defense?
Defensive end. Jared Allen. Thank you. I couldn't think of who it was.
I was like pretty sure you were talking about Jared Allen, but I thought I heard you say offensive line, so that threw me off. But.
Yeah, defensive end. Like it wasn't as good as that, but I think that would be a good way to go out, right? Like,
yeah. I mean, I don't know. That one was tough. They showed Ian Wheeler again, and I think I just want to very much point out, and I guess this is what Hard Knocks is all about. But like that situation, when you think about it from the human element, is very, very tough. But if you don't think of it that way, it's like, okay, he's got a medical redshirt year. He has a better chance of making the team next year. But these are not like chess pieces that you move around on a board.
Right.
Like these are actual humans. And so you did see a little bit of like, I don't know. I don't want to say the depression because that's like too far to take it. But like he is going to have to go through a surgery, the physical therapy it takes to get back. And we're not talking about get back and just be a person. You're talking about being a professional athlete.
Right.
So it's no guarantee he'll come back as what he was. But I liked how he talked about his story being like in high school, I thought I'd be, a starter, or I thought I'd be, get a D1 full scholarship and I didn't. And that didn't stop me. And I thought I'd be drafted and I wasn't, and that didn't stop me. So you get the sense that he doesn't think this is going to stop him. But like just seeing that play out and talking to his mother again just shows that human element, which I think this show is all about. So
I also think it was kind of cool though that he had the mindset of like, look, if it doesn't work out, I'm going to use this to reapply to medical school when it comes to like, you got to write essays and crap. Right. So like, I think it'll be real easy to speak to not only his experiences here, but also the fact that he got injured, right? Like when you're going to medical school, you have a major injury, as far as like for sports go. I don't know. I think that's just kind of cool that at least he's got that mindset in the back of his mind. If things don't work out, he's looking at it as a positive way, right?
Do you have any more big picture global things? Because I'm kind of going chronologically, and the next thing I have is like not big picture.
I mean, what I have isn't chronological that I want to talk about. So go ahead and go with yours.
All right. So I thought you had to still feature Caleb Williams. I mean, the story is always about him. And I thought there was a really cool thing when they were just talking about like the reps and the repetition and like to get to this top level, you just got to do it and do it again and do it again. And they did some really cool editing to the point where I had to like rewind back to be like, I thought that was the drill. Like I thought he would like do one and then come back and get another ball and just go right into the next read. But like it was just their editing and it was kind of cool. Do you remember that part or?
Yeah, when you just kind of see him making throws. There was two to DJ Moore that looked almost the exact same. Clearly it was the same play. The one though that I wanted to tweet about, but I was too busy drafting, the throw. And again, should be an easy thing to do and obviously easier in practice than probably in the game. But when he threw it to DJ Moore, when he had, I didn't see who the defensive lineman who was coming at him or chasing him to the side was. But when he threw that, like DJ Moore was like still running the opposite direction. Like those are things we haven't seen here from a quarterback. And again, I know it's practice, but if that can start happening in games, I'm excited.
I mean, there's a lot of things in practice where I kind of look and I'm like, I feel like the defense knows their number one job is to not hurt anybody.
Sure.
Where I'm like, would that have been broken up? But he's very accurate on the run, can make pinpoint throws. And we have seen it in live game action. Granted, it's preseason. So obviously, I know this is a Hard Knocks episode, but we are really looking forward to just a few days away from it's all real.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. You say that they're not supposed to try to hurt people, but we go back to the Ian Wheeler hit. That was a pretty rough hit in episode 3.
I know.
Or was it 4? No, it was 4.
That was 4 because I didn't get to talk about it. I think that was actually the little scuffle that broke out.
Led to the fight that they didn't really show.
Right. So here's another interesting one, and I got a comedic response to it. But what did you think of Jalon specifically singling out Rome to run drills with?
I mean, I don't know if it was like he knew that Rome would be the guy to actually agree to it. I don't know if it was like Keenan's probably not going to do it, right? DJ Moore probably would have. Maybe he just wanted something different. He wanted a guy with the younger legs.
That was my take. Is like Keenan's not challenging me.
Right. Yeah. Right.
They went into the other previous episode where it's like Keenan couldn't even get a damn catch against Jalen. So Jalen's probably like, come on. I know this guy's got multiple Pro Bowls, but he's got old legs. Give me a new, fresh guy. And it looked like Rome was getting the better of him, at least in the parts they showed.
And part of it, though, too, is Rome's more of an outside receiver, and I feel like Jalen Johnson's more of an outside corner. So, like, that right there is also probably just a better practice for him, right? Like, going up against routes that he's going to see in games. So, I'm trying to think of who the Titans have. Is it Calvin Ridley that's there now?
Ridley, they got who? Titans?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it's Ridley.
Hopkins? No.
Well, Hopkins is hurt, I think, right? I don't even know if he's going to play.
I thought they said he's going to play.
Is he going to play? Okay. But they got Ridley. So, like, I mean, it's going to be some tough competition for him on the outside. I think he'll handle it just fine. But, yeah, I thought that was interesting. I actually saw that they leaked that on social media today. So I already saw that this morning. I tweeted out, iron sharpens iron. That's what they keep talking about. And here we are getting extra reps between two of your top guys, or hopefully top guy in Rome Odunze at some point. And Jalen Johnson also came out and said he's tired of the hype. He just wants to get out there and like do it and prove it. And I that's how I feel right now, right? Just from getting ready. Like, I just want to watch it happen. And I'm like, not as nervous as I thought I'd be. I feel still really excited about the fact that they're just going to have a really good season. Even though Vegas is now shifting the line a little bit. I shouldn't say Vegas. It's those who are betting on the game. I saw it went from -4.5 now down to -3.5. But to me, that's just better odds. So I'm glad I'm waited. And now I'm going to make that bet this week.
Jump on it. Signupexpert.com/huddle.
That's right. Get over there. You can find.
I already got on it at 4.5, but now you're making me think, hey, take another point. But
it was a good thing for me to wait because now I'm going to get the best odds. I can go to our sign up page and look at the different options. I already signed up, so I won't get the sign up offers. But if you guys are listening and you are looking to make some bets on this week's game, that's your place to do it.
Just a funny line was when the quarterbacks are talking and like, They know, when you're talking about Rippon and Austin Reed, like they knew probably both of them wouldn't make it. And we ended up seeing neither of them made it. Austin Reed eventually comes back to the practice squad. But Austin Reed was like, yeah, I don't know. If I don't make the team, I might just go work at Chili's.
Yes.
So then when he got back to the practice squad, I'm thinking, man, Chili's lost a good one.
Yeah. Well, I think Tyson Bagent was probably more on the right path when he said he'd be a quarterback's coach for like West Florida or something like that.
Or even a high school.
Exactly. But I like his mindset, right? I mean, you could tell he's pumped up to be here. He's excited. And you saw it even when he came back at the end of the episode, right? Because, I mean, obviously everyone knows at this point that Rippon did not make the final 53. They only went with 2 quarterbacks, and they told him, look, if it was 3, you'd be here. It's only going to be 2, unfortunately. But if you don't find anything else, we'd love to have you back. And he was going to come back if it was just practice squad, but he basically made the Vikings give him a spot on the 53 roster.
Now, wait, did you pick up on something else very important during the Poles Rippon conversation?
Yeah, are you going to talk about the hat? Because I didn't fully understand it.
Oh, Rob.
Is that like a thing? I don't know. I've never seen the HH.
What was on the hat?
No, it's the double H's. Oh, Hallis Huddle. Is that what you're going to go with it? Oh, man. How did I miss that? I did not.
I'm yelling at the screen. I was yelling at the screen like, no, Rip. No, it's Hallis Huddle. Get it right.
Oh, my God.
I don't know what he really said. I think he said it's like a Scandinavian expression that means good vibes.
Enjoy the little
like it was something sentimental, but I'm like, wrong. Hallis
Huddle. Hallis Huddle. He was supporting the show.
He didn't even know. We got to send him some swag. We don't have any swag. We got to work on that.
I'm working on it. I'm putting it together.
So I'm going to keep going down my list, but I really liked the saying. I think he was attributing it to himself because it looked like he said RCP. So I'm guessing I'm talking about Ryan Poles.
Yeah.
I don't know his middle name. I'm going to call him Clarence. So Ryan Clarence Poles, but he said sometimes the right way is the hardest way. And then to know that this same dude who's like the top of the organization, I mean, I guess Kevin Warren and the McCaskies are above him, but he's calling the shots as GM, and he's getting to say to these guys, yo, I was in this building before I got cut.
And that was cool because you got to see those highlights of him with Lovie Smith. So, and Rex Grossman at quarterback.
Wow. Whoa. Big difference, man. Big difference. But yeah, that's quite a journey. And so you do have to wonder. In fact, Colbert not making the practice squad, I was also thinking, I wonder if Poles would ever consider bringing him back in his group,
job
within the ranks or something, because they really liked his perspective and his, who he was as a person. And like you said, if you're 30 and you've already been on 10 teams,
give him a job in the scouting department and see how he does. I mean,
exactly. So yeah, I liked that little saying. And it came out too in the feedback that they were giving. Both him and Eberflus, you could tell, valued giving them real feedback as actual humans that they've invested in. And I never pictured that it would just be like, yeah, you didn't make it, you're out of here. Grab your crap.
Obviously.
But they were really big on Benedict and then had to cut him.
Yeah, the Canadian.
I got a comment though.
The Canadian Eagle.
Yeah, the Canadian Eagle, but he's walking out of there and just holding a trash bag, and it's like, I guess
that's a thing, though, right?
Yeah, because Owen said,
mentioned
trash bag.
Yeah.
I mean, they think they're gonna steal stuff or something. Like, hey, we'll give you 5 minutes, everything you can fit in that bag.
Can I also say that that part of this episode to me felt so out of place. Like, I felt like they just squeezed that in to get some Simone Biles action.
Oh yeah, that was weird.
Like, it had nothing to do with the episode. He wasn't getting cut. Everyone knew he wasn't getting cut. Like,
no, but he did add, like, I was undrafted. I was cut 5 times, and now here I am as one of the people who was probably more comfortable, like you just said. He knew he wasn't going to get cut. So that's a huge, now that could be Benedict 5 years from now. Like, maybe he's comfortably on some roster and remembering the days when he was sad, walking sad, Charlie Brown style with his garbage bag filled of thongs or whatever he was wearing.
Those Eagle Speedos.
He had a lot of them, man. That bag was almost full. So you wanted to talk Velus, and I have a little Velus question. So
I'm bringing the fire.
Okay.
What the hell is going on with this situation? I am sorry. If you were offered, and I know you don't know what the actual trade offer was, but he said he wasn't going to take anything less than a 4th. So my guess is it was probably a 5th or a 6th. Or it was a 4th, and he just still hung on to him. Velus Jones better fucking do something. Okay, they don't swear on Hard Knocks, but we're swearing on the Hell Huddle. He better fucking do something this year, or I'm going to be pissed that you wasted an opportunity to get a draft pick for him. He better do something, whether it's on special teams. I don't care. Whether it's he's going to prove that he's an actual gunner. Like you heard Hightower talk about it. Oh, well, he's improved as a gunner. He's probably our 3rd gunner behind our 2 corners. We're probably even going to do some type of rotation. Okay, good. If he can prove to just be that guy, I'd be happy. Be happy. I don't think it's going to happen. Will he do something on kick returns? He showed a little bit of flash with that before, but now the rules changed. Is he going to be able to pick up on that for this year?
I think the rule benefits him.
I hope so too. That's the reason why we thought he was sticking around. Did he show enough on the running game as a running back? I thought it was better than Travis Homer, so I'm fine with him staying over Homer. But why is Velus Jones a thing? He's done nothing, and half this episode was Velus Jones.
So I rolled back the trade part multiple times because I couldn't hear what he was saying. But he said, I wouldn't take anything less than a 4th. But then something about his tone made me think he got an even better offer than that. Which made me think, did he turn down a 3rd? Or or a team said, name your price is what I thought I heard him say. So you could look at that 2 ways. That means other teams see him as a potential weapon. I do think this new kickoff rule is going to benefit him. I do think moving him to running back actually benefits what your kick return will more seem like. Like it's going to be a more compact the guys are right on you and you just find your lane and go. But what really blew my mind is how much it was about him developing as a running back, him developing as a running back, him developing as a running back. What did they keep him as?
A wide receiver.
A receiver.
I mean,
and you only kept 5. And you only kept 5 receivers. So I was like, what? I didn't understand that.
I know it's just on paper, but they didn't keep 5. They kept 6.
They kept saying we kept 5.
I know. I think
Maybe
because in their mind, they were thinking he was going to be a running back.
They kept 6?
Yeah, because they
kept DeAndre Carter.
Yeah. So I didn't understand that part at the beginning either. They just lied to Colin Johnson, but he did come back to the practice squad, so he wasn't too mad.
I think they thought of Velus as a running back, and then at the last day kept him as a receiver. Is there any benefit to like declaring someone as one position over the other? I mean, I don't think it matters.
Are we playing him in fantasy football?
We are not. I don't know. We better not. But no, I just didn't know if there was any something with the NFL in terms of how many you have at different positions. But
nope.
Wow. Okay. So yeah, you hit on my Velus stuff.
It's just, to me, it was like, I felt like it was being forced on our throats, and it was a little bit awkward at times. And look, he seems like a nice guy, like the ferret thing. Like,
I know
he is a lower guy on the roster.
Every time you would do that thing with the ferret, I was like, oh, that
right.
I'm surprised PETA didn't protest the show or something like that.
But again, like, I know he's a bottom of the roster guy. So like, those are the type of guys that usually do get more action in these types of shows on Hard Knocks, right? Like, but it just, I don't know. It just felt very awkward to me. Like, everybody had something positive to say about him, whether it was special teams, whether it was Waldron,
Chad Morton loves him.
Yeah, Chad Morton.
But I guess he don't get to coach the most.
Sure. But he also loved Ian Wheeler too. So
I don't know.
We just love everybody.
Velus has tools. You give him one more year to show what he's got. But this was a much tougher team to make, and that was a theme throughout. And I think it was polls that said it's time to win.
Yes, I love that quote. Absolutely love that
quote. Let's see. I liked that Rippin and Reed both kind of had perspectives. Like, Reed was like, hey, I did everything that was in my power, and now the pieces fall where they are. But what Rippin said was, and he kind of said this to the camera, but I'm sure he had a similar conversation with Austin Reed, is like, if you put out good tape, opportunities will find you, in a sense. Yeah. So I'm happy how both those quarterbacks ended up getting to what basically was their best outcome. It is strange though that, and you mentioned it already, but the Bears quarterback room is 2 rookies and a second-year player who has 4 career starts.
4 starts, 5 total games, not a full game, right? 4.5-ish games of experience.
Yeah.
Amongst their whole quarterback room.
Now, let's be honest though, and I was having this conversation with my son recently, I want to say, but Caleb has a heck of a lot of college experience, big-time college experience. Whereas you look at some other quarterbacks, I'm not going to go to Trubisky. I think I was comparing him maybe to Anthony Richardson or something, but that matters too. And Bagent has a lot of that. Now, granted, it was at Division II, but when you just talk about reps or, hours in training or whatever you want to look at, they both are pretty heady, experienced guys. So neither of them seem like a traditional rookie or a traditional second-year player. But I just always thought, the second they drafted Caleb Williams, I was like, I wonder what Ryan Tannehill's up to. Let's get him in here.
He's still available.
But they opted just not to go that way. And I think it speaks to how much of a sponge he is. He's taking it in already from Waldron and these other guys.
Okay, I have 2 things about Caleb Williams I want to ask you. One actually came up on Hard Knocks, but it was something, this is the second time I've seen it now, and there's a dumbass who's actually made it a thing, and I'm curious to get your opinion on it. I don't know if you saw it, but the guy who runs the QB school, I'm not even going to say his name, talked about his demeanor, his body language in the meetings with Eberflus, right? Because you always just see him and I know that's a thing. People say oh, you're closed off, you're not actually paying attention. I don't pick up on that though. That doesn't seem to be the case with these two.
I don't think, if he's only basing that off of what he's seen on Hard Knocks, I think that's not enough time.
Oh, and he also talked about Caleb was the one who wasn't taking notes in one episode, but Matt Eberflus was. And he's like, I've never seen that in a meeting with and it's like, come on, guy.
That's not enough
for engagement,
time or context to make that, assumption or evaluation. I mean, I guess it does matter to some degree, but so much has pointed to the fact that they seem to have a good working relationship. Like, until we have a reason to believe that might not be the case, then I don't see why you're going to pick up on body language. I mean,
100%.
Go all the way back to Jay Cutler. Like,
yeah, there you go.
Crappiest body language you ever could imagine. But like, even then, I was like, we're only seeing little, snippets of what's actually going on. So
I mean, honestly, even to a degree, Justin Fields was never like the guy on the sideline, like talking to his teammates and stuff that often. He was just kind of.
But people didn't like that he was like taking deep breaths, and it's like,
right. But that was like his thing, right?
That's their own way.
Yeah.
Of resetting themselves or focusing themselves.
I don't care what you do on the sideline.
Barefoot, doing all this stuff. I mean,
yeah, I don't care what you do on the sideline as long as what I see on the field works, right? That's what's the most important. Okay, the other thing about Caleb Williams did not come up on Hard Knocks, but over the weekend, we saw USC come back and win. I think they had a little bit less than a minute or a little bit more than a minute left in the Texas A&M game, came back to win. So
I thought it was LSU.
Was it LSU? Oh, yeah. Texas A&M was the Notre Dame game. I'm sorry. It was against LSU. And there were a couple people out there, and I think it might have actually been Chase Daniel who actually said something about, like, Moss Miller potentially being, like, a better scheme fit, like someone who actually just works within Lincoln Riley's system, right? And then it just like took off. And I don't think he actually meant it the way that it kind of came across, right? Like I think he actually kind of not recanted, but like re-explained. And Lance Zierlein from NFL.com, the draft expert, he was also talking about like, I know that's not what you meant, right? But there's people out there that are like thinking that because they won a game against a top team where Caleb Williams struggled, right? Like he struggled against those top 5 teams. They let up, 20 points?
It was like 27, 24 or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like they scored 27 points. If
Caleb
Williams
last year,
there was only 2 games that they would have won by scoring 27 points. Like the defense clearly is better, right? I think they have a new defensive coordinator. I'm not a big college person. I don't get into college until like film or anything like that until like December. That's when I'm like, okay, they're coming to the pros. Now I need to know who they are.
Neither am I, but I did hear the quarterback interviewed, and granted, it was a question that was asked directly of him. Yeah. But he definitely cited his time working with Williams as something that impacted him positively. So it's like
Caleb Williams was like talking him up on social media, like, yeah, go get it, boy. Like, I mean, all that stuff. So everyone wants to tear this kid down, and I don't get it.
Matter. Just Sundays matter.
But Justin, 12-team league. I got Kyler Murray and Caleb Williams and Kirk Cousins. It was the second to last pick. The second last pick, and there was nothing I could take. I was like, I just hope I can take Cousins and hope that someone's quarterback goes down, and they need to make a trade. Because
I was gonna say, I just hope Cousins never sees your actual roster.
100%.
So I did not do episode 4 with you. That was Bob, and I did watch the episode, but because I knew I wasn't going to be on here, I didn't really like take notes. So I believe there is something that Hard Knocks missed completely.
Out of the whole 5 episodes.
Over the whole 5 episodes. Granted, the only 2 that would have had an opportunity are 4 or 5. So if I'm wrong, please correct me. Otherwise, I think this was a big miss on their part. But the Bears, when trying to whittle the roster down to just 53, and you saw them cutting a guy like Coward, the DT, they made 2 trades.
He asked him.
Yeah, but they made 2 trades, one for a defensive end and one for a defensive tackle. Unless that was addressed in episode 4, which I don't recall, to not address it in episode 5, like that was a huge part of the numbers game. As soon as you trade for those guys, we were joking about it on our show. They were as safe as Caleb Williams to me.
Yep.
You're not going to trade for them 2 days before you have to make cuts and then cut them.
Yep.
So I thought that was weird that just never got mentioned or covered at all.
and a little bit of a knock on Ryan Poles. Here we are, talking him up, putting him on this pedestal, but he basically lied to him because he said, he asked him, he said, like, what was it? Like, what's keeping me from making this team? And he said, oh, well, we went defensive end heavy. Well, did you go defensive end heavy or did you go trade for a defensive tackle? Because that's what you actually did. And that guy took his spot.
But that already would have happened by the time he was having that conversation.
Correct. But I mean, in the process of everything going on is what I'm saying. Like, he was going to make this team, right? Like when we did our 53-man roster and I said, well, what if Pickens is hurt to the point where he's going to start the first 4 games on IR, right? Then I had him staying on the roster. But then we said, like, okay, well, if he's not, we're going to have Jacob Martin there and we're going to pull him. And I get that they aren't actually lying in this fact that they did go defensive end heavy, right? Even the IR, Jacob Martin, defensive end. But again, like, you're telling him this at this point. But if I'm that player and I'm thinking about it, like, no, you gave my position to a guy you traded for.
But they already, so when we were having that conversation, we already had penciled Chris Williams in. Actually, no, he was in Penn.
Yes.
He was in Penn. And we didn't know about Pickens. And that's why Cowart was one of our last cuts.
Correct.
So I feel like he still, at that point, could have made the roster. But them deciding to keep an additional end, which I'm not thinking of Taylor as that guy. Who would you more so think was the last end they kept over Cowart?
Is Daniel Hardy.
There you go. Daniel Hardy. So, like, that was the cut. You either keep Daniel Hardy or you kept Cowart, regardless of those 2 trades. You see what I'm saying? Truly, I think Hardy was the guy that replaced him on the roster. So I don't think he was lying to him when he said that.
I do. But, like, in my mind, I think they were only going to keep 4 no matter what. They only kept 4 last year, too. So.
Wait, so how do you explain Hardy making it?
They increased the defensive ends. I mean,
that's what he said. We kept more ends than
right, but they weren't going to keep 5 tackles. Is what I'm saying. They would have went with another position, like maybe keep, another corner or something.
They're heavy at corner. I mean, they already had 10, right? Well, with safeties.
Yeah, it's the same amount they had the year before.
I don't know. I don't think he lied to him.
I mean, it's not an exact lie. I'm just saying if I'm that player and I'm seeing you go out and trade for my position, clearly there's more to it than I want the constructive criticism. I want you to tell me what I need to work on to make this team or
that's
another
what they said they were going to give, and then they showed that conversation, which wasn't really.
And maybe they did, and we just didn't see it. Right?
I think it was maybe bad editing, because here's the thing.
Well,
Chris Williams
might not be bad editing though. The Bears might not have let it happen.
Yeah, that's true. So here's what I'm saying: the Chris Williams trade, Cowart sees that as, damn, that's a dude at my position who they're definitely keeping, and then he still could have made the team if it weren't for Hardy making the team.
If they kept 5 defensive tackles, I just don't think they were.
I'm guessing it was closer than they thought, because I don't think Ryan Poles had any reason to just flat out lie to the dude.
Sure.
You're looking for stuff because we're so high on Poles.
Probably.
So my last thing. What did you think of, like, the absolute ending?
I loved it because it hyped me up. It absolutely hyped me up for 5 days from now.
I thought it was weird, but I also looked at it as it's actually a beginning rather than an ending.
Sure. They said, like, summer comes to an end and now we move forward. And then you got Tyson Bagent talking about how Caleb Williams has his best throw. And, like, that's not scripted, right? Like, Tyson Bagent doesn't seem like the guy to script things. He's clearly just catching a hot mic and saying those things. I don't know if it's true. I feel like he's had a lot of really good throws. That Roma Dunze throw in the Bengals game, and that was a really good throw.
Oh, I'm talking about the ending, where they just
where they're walking with the bees and
it's just perfectly quiet, and then he just puts on his helmet really slowly.
Yeah. I thought that was cool too.
Yeah, it was. I mean, like I said, once I looked at it from the artistic expression of the end is actually the beginning, I was like, okay.
Yeah.
But I didn't know how they were going to end it, and I just thought that was a little weird.
Yeah.
But creative.
I feel like our kids, you have a kid that's artistic and creative, and I have a kid that's artistic and creative. I feel like if they, and Taylor doesn't really care about football, right? But like for them to see that, like the way they videography of it, I feel like both of them would say, yeah, that was a cool ending.
Okay, fair enough. I'm not the artist, but dang, I don't know if we should go back. But you mentioned the bees. That was kind of
that was also just
it just came with the house. Like, yeah, and you got bees.
But then like they're like making it like a positive, like, oh yeah, this is like really cool. And then you see them and he's just like squatting at one, like
I mean,
I don't
fresh
think that's
honey.
what you're supposed to do if you own bees.
I mean, I thought it was like if they said the bees come with the house, like you would have to go out there and deal with them yourself. But
No.
he's got the money. He paid for a beekeeper.
Yeah, I would not be doing that. Sorry.
I didn't know beekeepers like worked on call like that or whatever.
I guess when you're,
I have a lot to learn. Thank you, Hard Knocks. But
I'm guessing like when you have the amount of money that people like Matt Eberflus does, like you could just call someone and be like, hey, I'll pay you this to be my guy, right? Like
true. Yeah, I don't think it's like he pulled out the yellow pages and was like,
no.
Right, I need a good beekeeper. What do we got? Yellow pages. It's been a while, huh?
Oh, yellow pages. The old Google search. They used to have a website too. I wonder if they still do.
I doubt it.
Yellow.com.
What would be funding it? I mean, even when they were in their heyday, I didn't understand the business model of like you just throw your product onto everyone's porch. I guess they got paid for all those ads, but
I guess.
Man, some of our listeners don't know what we're talking about.
No, they're way too young. What's a payphone?
Oh, I was explaining a payphone the other day. I sounded like a lunatic.
Do you know what a collect call is, kids?
Pick me up at the high school. Will you accept the call from pick me up at the high school?
There was a commercial when the kid, when the dad was like, they were calling the dad because the wife was having the baby. Do you remember that commercial?
Yeah. Will you accept a collect call from we had a baby? It's a boy.
Yeah.
Good times, good times. So, all right, man. The next time we chat, the Bears will be 1-0. No, I don't want to jump ahead of myself, but a real game would have happened, and we get to break that down. So,
yes,
super exciting. Go Bears! I like that this is like the new logo on everything. Kind of cool.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I like that they do the bear head more now too than the C.
Yeah.
That's
what I was talking about. All right, man. What do you got? That's it?
I got bear down, and I got claws up.
Claws up.
All right. See you later, House Huddlers.
All right. Take it easy, Rob.
See you, Justin.